Hey, thanks for tuning in this episode of Channel Surfing. So, on our Southeast Alaska trip, we traveled together for 55 days and covered over 2,600 miles. Channel Surfing had 3 adults and 3 dogs on board, and Janet on Lemon Drop, she was all by herself, soloed on the same boat. Both boats are the Ranger Tug 27 with a 300 horse outboard. So we had 4 open ocean crossings. We traveled across some of the most gorgeous and potentially treacherous large open waterways together. We navigated through ice fields to see some glaciers, and we passed by many cruise ships. How did we get so lucky with the weather? How about food and laundry? Was it hard to find places to laundry and restock on food? How many days of food did we stock up on and bring? What was necessary in the way of provisioning for crossing the USA-Canadian borders? Would we have anchored more next time and used more, or would you use more marinas? What was the scariest part of the trip? Was any of it scary? And what would you do different on your next Alaska trip? And any advice on traveling together versus going solo? You guys have all heard a lot of this stuff from me, so in this video, we're going to ask Lizine and Janet what they think. So in addition, where do you plan to take your boat this coming boating season? Leave it in the comment section below. All right, so first question that I've had many people ask, how did we get so lucky with the weather?
My perception is we had a good leader who investigated what the weather predictions were, and we had a no-go, either a go or no-go, depending, and sometimes we sat around waiting for the weather to improve. If there's no push to go, or you're not out there when the bad weather comes in, there's no real reason to just go. And Starlink probably was very helpful.
Starlink was instrumental.
Yeah.
So Petersburg. Remember I woke you up at Petersburg? Mm.
That's the one that came to mind when you were asking that question. Is I think of Petersburg, and it was like 8:30 at night. Janet already went down. We weren't leaving the next day. That's what we all thought before we went to bed. And then all of a sudden it was, wait, it's going to be like a lake. Let's go. Go tell Janet.
So we pulled into Petersburg, and we liked Petersburg. Never been there before. Uh-huh. And it was Saturday. And we're like, oh, we all agree, let's stay till like Tuesday. And Tuesday's 3 days out. And I looked, and it had been like 1 or 2 foot chop. And it's like 150 miles from Petersburg to Juneau. And just before I went to bed, I was looking at the weather, and the next day, Sunday, it was forecasted the wind gusts were 8 knots. That was the morning, that was the afternoon, that was up by Juneau, that was down closer to Petersburg. Stephen's Passage is a very long, very open waterway. It's a north-south passage. And I was like, wind gusts of 8 knots or less? I says, it'll be like a lake. So 8 o'clock, and went over, wrapped on Lemon Drop, and was like, we need to go pay. We're leaving tomorrow. Line's off the dock at 8. She was like, but you said.
Okay.
So, but how was that waterway?
It was like a lake.
It was like a lake. Yeah. It was
much
good.
Preferred.
Yeah.
Not that 1 or 2 foot of chops is bad. It's much better if you can just sit there instead of going the whole trip. I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah, for me on the trip, actually, I mean, a lot of people get on their boats and they like to go find anchorage and paddleboard and kayak. What surprised me the most in Alaska was how much fun navigation was. It was just we didn't do an itinerary. I tried, I just couldn't do it. And instead, I was just always in tune with what was going on. I had good communications on the boat. I had Starlink. I had cellular. So I was always looking morning, afternoon, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, which way the tide was going to go, when was it going to turn, what the winds were, what the wind gusts were going to be. To just kind of always have a feel for what was really going on. And then I would decide where we're going to go tomorrow. And if the weather was good, we could go further. If the weather wasn't that great, we would go shorter, or we'd stay at the top.
We're going to do the next day.
Yeah.
An adventure. What today?
Yeah, that was actually funny to me. Janet, in the first, 2-3 days, she was like, where are we going? Where are we going? I'm like, I don't know. We pull into the dock, right? And get gas at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She'd be like, so what's planned for tomorrow? I'm like, man, I need to go get a beer. Let's go get some food. I'm hungry. We'll figure it out this evening. So talk about food and laundry. We had a lot of questions about that.
I brought a lot of clothes because
She had a boat all to herself.
I had the boat all to myself, and I put my clothes in bins. And I bring things that you can wear a couple times and it won't matter. And then not to, get personal, but the underwear, I've got enough for the whole, pretty much,
55 days.
not quite.
A
not
year.
Not quite. But I brought enough for probably at least a third or a half of that, a third or 2/3 of that. And we did laundry. A couple of places had really nice laundromats. And I caved and did laundry in a couple of them. And I think some of the amenities at some of these marinas are really good. And they cater to people just like us that are traveling. And so one laundromat even had an attendant that made sure you had the right change and made sure
Petersburg.
that...
That was my favorite place because the store was right next door.
Yeah.
So you could get your laundry done.
Big load, so you could do it all at once. Big load dryers, so you could get it all done. Easy access to the marina, so you could haul it all back down. And groceries, pretty much the same. I don't think we ran out of places to buy food, but I'm different because I'm solo. I carry on my boat.
I think you had stocked. I stocked for 7 days, basically.
I have stuff that won't perish. So, and the refrigerator's all mine. So I never had a problem with food. You can always get your fresh fruits and vegetables and fresh fish along the road.
Yeah.
So
all the big places had pretty nice. The only one I would say is Ketchikan, because that was their only laundromat right there that everybody used it. So it was hard to get an open. Yeah. So there was somebody, was it on Odyssey? That's who told me at...
Or Salish Nomad.
What's that place in Canada, the last place before you cross?
Oh, Prince Rupert.
In Prince Rupert, she said, do your laundry here, because Ketchikan, you're going to find it so crowded with all the people that live there that you're better to do it here. And I did. Yeah. And I was like, wow. And I peeked in at Ketchikan and went, holy cow, there wasn't anything. And there was people waiting to do the laundry.
Yeah, Prince Rupert, we stayed at the Prince Rupert Rowing Yacht Club. You do not have to be a yacht club member to stay there. Awesome
nice
place.
Amenities.
Yeah, really nice laundromat. Fantastic harbor master. Just all around great experience there.
A little over a mile to the Safeway, but you walk that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also found there's a Yamaha dealer within walking distance of the marina.
Well, there's a lot of
places there.
There's a lot of boat services along the way. You're not really without. You might have to go to the next stop to find it, but that's kind of what they do.
Doing the trip again, what would you guys do different on how many days of food would you want to stock on the boat and how many days of clothes would you want to bring on the boat? What do you think for a trip like that?
You mean more than 55 days?
Anything more than a weekend, right?
Oh, right. Do? Well, I don't think I would do anything different with what I brought for food and clothes. If we added the week and went out to Sitka, Sitka is a great place to refurbish everything. So, maybe it takes you an overnight or two to get there. But most of the stuff I had, I had plenty. I wasn't starving. Yeah. I had plenty to eat and drink, and I don't think I would do anything different on provisions.
I would on what I take when we go. So we left Everett, and I've said this in another video. My bright idea was if I get all my canned goods, then I don't have to worry about it Ganges.
Right.
How much weight is that canned good?
Right.
Going to cost you in fuel.
Too much. That's
so,
how much weight?
Anything.
How much weight if you bought it at Ganges and you had to schlep it back to the boat? That's my thing. I guess.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't need 30 days of canned goods. I need 7.
Yeah.
7. I'm going to go to the store in 7 days.
Well, now that we've been there, we know where all the stops are.
I think that was where my brain thought, but
where the provisions are.
I could have just got the canned goods I need in Ganges and not haul it all the way from Everett to Ganges with the extra gas.
And
because gas prices were high when we left.
Yeah, they were
coming down a little bit now, but they were.
The other thing is what you can and cannot take over the border into Canada, and what you can and cannot take from Canada into Alaska.
Yep.
That's another question that I've heard people ask is for provisioning to cross the border, because we're going from U.S. to Canada and then Canada to U.S. and then the southbound trip reverse. So tell me about what you guys have provisioned for food and stuff crossing the border.
To get into Canada, don't have any fruits, don't have any vegetables. Obviously, anything that's in a box is doable. Anything that's in a can is doable. For your refrigerator, how much alcohol they ask you, and usually if they know you're going to be gone cruising for a long time, they allow a little more, and the operative word is personal use, ship stores. I forget what the third one is, but you use that comment when you tell them how much alcohol you have. And other than that, just answer their questions, and most of this stuff is stuff I wouldn't have anyway. Yeah. So no guns, no marijuana.
If you're bringing meat, you want to freeze your meat and bring it.
Right.
You have to. It has to be in its original.
Right.
You can't put it in Ziploc bags to save space and vacuum it.
They want the original stickers.
Yeah.
Dog food the
USA.
same. They want the original. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yes, you can do it if it's frozen. Mm-hmm. And no, you probably can't do it if it's not frozen.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
And from a trip planning perspective, what actually made the most sense was when I go from U.S. into Canada, the first stop I'm going to hit has to be a place with a grocery store, because I'm going across knowing that the refrigerators are mostly empty, so we need a place to provision. And the same thing is true when we went, obviously going from Canada back into Ketchikan. It was the same thing all over again. We wanted the refrigerators to be mostly empty.
Right. But on fuel, that's that way too. I think our whole trip, because of the boats that we have, anytime we stayed in a marina, we made sure we filled up with fuel. Mm-hmm. Some maybe we could have gone a little further, but you don't know what's waiting for you. So if you're in a marina that has a fuel dock, get it.
And I think most places most marinas we went to, we filled up when we got there so that we could leave whenever and not wait for the fuel dock. Yeah. Which is a great idea.
That's really important. The end of your day, fill up with fuel.
I know some people think, I just want to go and get docked and get some food, but take the few minutes it takes to get that.
You don't know when the fuel dock opens. It could open 8 or 9 in the morning.
Yeah, some of them didn't open till 8.
Yeah. And sometimes we left really early.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sunrise, when we went, it was 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning was sunrise.
We had a couple really early days.
Yeah.
All right, so another good question. Would you anchor more next time or use more marinas?
I'd like to anchor more. There's some cool coves and stuff that we...
Yeah. I think by like I said, being fast boats, there were some anchorages that we went flying by because of the time of day. It wasn't time to stop. If you had more time, that's the other thing. Do you have more than 55 days, next time? Would you take more than that amount of time and know that you had time to stop, even though it wasn't the end of the day, and you had enough fuel, And the marinas basically for provisions and fuel. You don't and for you, it was for, to sit down and work from home.
I was going to say, we knew that he had to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday every week. So had we not have to worry about that, we could have just went to an anchorage and then went to another anchorage. But we were pretty much at a dock.
But we planned our provisioning around those 3 days. Yep. Laundry, provisioning, walking around town, or things that you don't want to be underway to do. But yeah, there's some little coves that I think we missed because we were going pretty much marina to marina.
Well, so the working boat obviously gravitated us towards the marina. But the other thing I seen with the marinas, though, was we're 32 foot overall, which is easy to get a spot. Yeah, remember pulling in Juneau with the Wagoneers group?
Oh, yeah.
Is that when I called the harbor master at home?
Yeah, tell that story. That was awesome.
Well, I'd called the marina, and it was a weekend, and I had no idea that they were closed, but the recording said, leave a message and we'll get back to you, or you can call this person. So I called that person, not knowing that it was the harbor master and that he was at home and they were closed for the weekend. And I asked him if we could get a couple slips, and he asked the size of the boat, and I told him, and he's like, well, let me call you back in 15 minutes. I'll drive to the marina and look and see what spots I can find for you and call you back. And I went, drive to the marina. He was at home. It was a weekend off.
And what started that was the VHF traffic as we're pulling into Juneau with the Wagoneers group hailing all the marinas.
Yeah.
And we could hear the desperation in the marinas' voices, that because there are a lot of big boats, right? And they were like, you guys all aren't going to fit in one marina. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
so I was like, well, maybe, because they all have transient moorage, but they could easily get filled up when a big group like that comes through. And we ended up getting a couple of slips. They hot berthed us where, like, some fishing boats that the harbor master knew was out for several weeks. And he's like, he drives down there, he looks down on the marina, and he calls Zena back and says, take slip 16 and 18. You can have them. So that was actually, we didn't even know it was his day off. The way we found out was we walked to the harbor master to check in, and it was closed.
Yeah, the two kids that were working.
Yeah.
That said that it was closed. They were closed on the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was Sunday when we went in there.
And if there's a flotilla. Once you're out there, the big flotillas like Wagner's.
Yeah, and we were just going back
and
and
there's
forth.
some other or slow boat. Not to mention anybody, but if they're out there and they're in your vicinity, if you got a fast motor, get ahead of them. When it comes to, if you need to get into a marina, get ahead of them. And they rarely, all their stops are not marinas. They anchor out a lot. So, it's a gamble either way.
Yeah, we would leapfrog them where they would be ahead of us because we stayed at dock for 2 or 3 days, and then we'd get in the boat, and then we jet forward in a couple of days, we'd catch up with them and pass them again.
Yeah, they probably stopped to anchor in between the marina stops because they really couldn't put on the mileage that we did.
Yeah, in general, what I found was that your normal trawlers and stuff that do the Alaska trip, they're traveling 40 to 60 miles a day. We were doing 90 to 135 a day, roughly. Our longest day was 200, but generally it was 90 to 130, 140 miles a day. How about your heater? That also got that. How
about my heater?
Yeah, that kept us at the dock actually quite a bit more. So we had lots of heater issues on the drop.
Yeah, turns out the heater was probably perfectly okay. It turns out that there was a water leak where you pour in the kerosene. The rubber gasket was degraded to the point where the cap was scraping on the deck, on the gel coat. I know. Had we known, 12 cents, I don't know, what is it, 25 cents for one of those? So water was getting into the fuel, and the heater didn't like that. And I don't know if you want to pull this out, but so, speaking with Ranger Tug, they were very accommodating and sent a heater as a replacement.
So I pulled water out of her diesel fuel lines 3 times on the trip.
Wow.
We got really good at it. It takes about 3 or 4 hours to cycle it through. A lot of time I spent laying on drop at night with a flashlight. The worst was we actually finally, every time I'd get the water out, then it would work for a period of time. Then we got to Glacier Bay, Blue Mouse Cove.
Yeah.
As we went into the bay, the storm came in. It was 15 plus knot winds blowing through there. We get to the anchorage, and the prediction for the next day was 25 knot winds blowing through Glacier Bay. So
and it was chilly.
And it was like 42 degrees outside. Yeah. I mean, it was gray, it was raining, cold. And we finally get anchored, and then Janet hails me on the VHF. Her heater's not working.
I can live with it.
So I jet in the dinghy, and I go over. So I've got Starlink up on my boat. I get in the dinghy, and I go across the marine, or across the anchorage over to her boat. We're only 2 boats, within miles. Get in her boat, I'm troubleshooting her heater, and I'm like, I need parts. So my phone connected via Wi-Fi from her boat across the anchorage to my boat to hit Starlink. And I made a couple phone calls to some Webasto dealers. It was a Friday afternoon, like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, local time where I was calling. And nobody would answer the phone. I was like, I just need to get some parts. I need to do something on this. And on a whim, I just went and texted Andrew at Fluid Motion. And I was actually being facetious, and I texted him, and I texted him periodically throughout the trip about the heater issues, so he wasn't surprised. But I was just facetiously texting him, and I was like, "Hey, you wouldn't happen to have like a, a burner kit for Webasto STC 2000 lying on a shelf anywhere, would you?" And he texted me back right away and said, "No, but I actually have a refurbished unit right here. I could send you." And I was like, "Seriously?" And he's like, give me an address to send it to, and I'll drop it in the mail, before.
That's another great tip.
Yeah.
Is that most marinas won't let you ship anything to them.
Correct.
Luckily, we had a subscriber that wanted to come down and meet us in Juneau. And so he let us ship to him.
So I made a phone call to him and said, "Hey, can I use your address to have a heater shipped there?" Then I went and texted the address back to Andrew. All that was done over Starlink in the middle of nowhere in Glacier Bay.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, Starlink is where it's at. Anyway, it wasn't until we got home, just so you know, it wasn't until we got home that Glenn goes.
That it was fully fixed.
Yeah.
That he went like this to my cover.
Oh,
and he goes, "You're right on the deck. You're right on the gel coat." And that's why the water was getting in there.
So the rainwater and stuff was getting in there.
Too bad we didn't know that sooner. But we started at this end, and it ended up being a problem at that end.
So the Webasto heater we have in our boat, I burn, 6-8 gallons a year of diesel through. We actually switched to kerosene, but it's the same. In Alaska, I burnt 8 gallons in 4 weeks. As soon as we went from across the Dixon,
cold.
As soon as we crossed the Dixon to Ketchikan, that heater became mission critical. I felt horrible for Janet in Blue Mouse Cove, as cold as it was.
You had a really good sleeping bag, didn't you?
I had everything. I had everything I needed, and I don't turn on the heat like you guys do. I don't run the heat when I'm driving.
We don't either.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I just, and sometimes I'll even have the door open. Well, why heat the place if I have the door open?
No, you do got to blow your heater.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a fun tip. If you want your windows to fog up so that it's raining inside the cabin, when it's cold outside and you got water hitting the outside window, turn your heater on.
Yeah, you need to dry it out.
We ended up just wearing sweatshirts and stuff.
Well, the other problem that we had, though, with the windows fogging up wasn't because of the heater, is because we had 3 dogs breathing all night. So every time we get up,
3 adults,
you couldn't even see
there's
out.
a lot of condensation.
Well, when it's just us on the boat, it's not like when the dogs are on the boat. The dogs are constantly. So you get
I didn't have that problem.
We could have put them on your boat next time.
Yeah. The funniest thing was we get into Tracy Arm. Yeah. So, about a week later, we're in Tracy Arm. We get up to Sawyer Glacier. It was freezing rain. It's still gorgeous up there, but it was freezing rain coming down. I do a personnel transfer. I jump from channel surfing over to lemon drop.
That was pretty cool.
Because I wanted to get some video of channel surfing, right? So as soon as I get on lemon drop, and she drives away, I go open up her cabin door to get in her cabin, and it was like a sauna.
So I was using the heat while it was working.
Yeah.
Another good question. What was the scariest part of the trip? Was any part of it scary?
One thing I would say for me, and this was the only thing, I don't care how deep I was in the waves. The one scary thing for me was when I thought your boat could be on fire.
Yeah.
That was it. That's the only thing. Is that not that I couldn't get you on my boat, but it just the peril that would go along with that.
Yeah.
That if for some reason that your boat, you had to ditch your boat, then that's scary at a point. Maybe it's just concerning, but
Yeah, so what she's referring to is we went through Johnstone Strait. It was the 3rd day of our trip, and we found ourselves in 2 to 4 foot seas. The water was crashing over the top of the boat. Got some fantastic
footage. And if you haven't watched that video, click right here.
That's some fantastic video of it, especially lemon drop crashing through the waves. It's awesome footage, right?
And I didn't have a problem with that. My problem was what was happening with you.
Right, but in our boat, I was smelling like this electrical smolder. And I'm like, I know that smell. I said, there's something's burning on the boat, and it's electrical. And I didn't know where it was. And the more the water fell on the boat, the worse the smell got. And it finally got really strong. And I was like, am I going to have electrical fire in 2 to 4 foot seas? So I hailed them on the radio. It was Anytime was with us as well, and Lemon Drop. And I said, I'm beat feeding over to Port Neville, which is an anchorage not that far from us. Just because I had to get out of the waves. If the water wasn't falling on the boat, the smell was not nearly as strong. And I just needed to tear the boat apart and find out where it was coming from.
And once we got there, I think it was more calming to know that, okay, we're not on fire.
Yeah.
Well, the water was really calm. We had 3 boats rafted together, which if you were going to blow up, it would have taken us all with you. But
Yeah,
but
that's
it was
That
pretty
was-
calm in there.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool too. Was I pull into Port Neville, of course, I'm in damage control mode at this point. So I go in, I pull in first, I drop the anchor, I set the hook immediately, and I start tearing the boat apart. And then Anytime came up and rafted to me on the port side, and then Lemon Drop came and rafted me on the starboard side. It was probably a good 15 knots of wind blowing through that anchorage, and my anchor tackle held all 3 boats at anchor while I tore the whole boat apart to find out. And the root cause, actually, for if you haven't watched any other videos about this, was the solar control. We were taking so much water over the boat in the cockpit. My starboard scupper was clogged with dog hair, and overflowed, and I had running seawater.
After that, we checked it every morning.
Yeah, so I had running seawater going across the solar controller, and it shorted out the solar controller side. There's actually a fuse inside the solar controller that blew, and that's what was smoldering in the smell we were seeing. So, so what would you do different on your next trip? Are there any lessons learned?
Yeah, don't take a bunch of canned goods with you. I really need them.
I don't think I would change anything. Everything was working when I left. The things that turned out to be problematic were nothing I could have done anything about. The other issue was the propane alarm, which I needed a replacement. There was not a propane leak. There was not a propane problem. That was in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, the alarm going off and not being able to stop it. So, the only thing that Martin did was come over at dark 30 and pull the fuse. And
That's because the guy came
the
over
harbor
our
master.
boat.
Yeah, and all is good,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know. It didn't dawn on me to pull the fuse, and I'm not even sure I would know which fuse it was. Luckily, you knew right where to go and pulled it, and that was the end of that. And I lived fine the rest of the trip without propane, because we didn't change that out till I got home.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the harbor master. I was up and Lemon Drop had just gone to bed, and the harbor master saw me. He's like, "Hey," he knew we were traveling
That
together.
boat that you're traveling with.
Yeah, he said the boat you're traveling with has got a beeping alarm, and I was like, "Oh, it's got to be the propane alarm."
I think for the most part, our trip was awesome.
Yeah, pretty emergency free.
Yeah. So another question specific for you, Janet. 'Cause
Oh, before you go on to the next topic, always carry a backup way to cook your food. So I had a butane single burner so that I could cook without propane.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise,
Otherwise, microwave.
microwave, yeah. But, what do you got that you can microwave? I mean,
We use our microwave all the time.
We do?
Which actually, that's a good lead up to the next question, because this one's specific to Janet. So I converted channel surfing, which it was started out as a Northwest edition. I converted it to lithium. So we run the microwave, we run the hot water heater, all natively off the boat. But Lemon Drop is mostly a stock Northwest edition with AGM batteries and can't do that. How did your power bank work? That anchor
fine.
thing?
I had brand new batteries. I had the solar, which in some of the weather wasn't probably that helpful.
Are you glad you had it for the trip?
I'm talking about the portable battery bank that you had. That you
Oh,
plugged
yeah.
in.
I plugged in my electric Keurig. I could,
It's important. Coffee.
yeah, I could charge all my devices off of that. And it was slow. It took forever for you to have to recharge it. And it charged up really fast when you're underway. So cigarette lighter, and then motor running, and we're off to the races, and it would charge up faster than I had time to really deal with it. So yeah, it was a good thing to have. I guess where I'm at, I probably would not change my batteries to a lithium house battery. Everything on that trip worked pretty good. I'm trying to think. The longest we were out on anchor or without shore power was 3 nights.
Was that in Glacier Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pruth Bay. How long were we off?
2 nights.
How long were we off power there?
A couple of days.
Yeah, yeah. So it all seemed to work out fine. I, obviously, I'm glad I got brand new batteries before I left. And I guess it was when I got back that we enhanced the controller for the solar, which is, a good thing to have.
Yeah, Lemon Drop had one of those, it's an Anchor, I don't know what the make and model is. It's a 1200 watt hour lithium battery. It's portable, and then she's got a cord that plugs into the shore power connection on her boat.
Yeah.
So with that plugged in, she could run, the boat was like it was on shore power, and she could run the hot water heater, she could run the coffee maker, microwave, any of that kind of stuff.
I probably should have done it just to see how fast it would decharge doing that hot water heater especially.
Okay, and then another good question for Janet. Any advice on traveling together versus solo? Did you solo the boat? I have a lot of people that ask about soloing.
You mean solo, or you mean no other boats?
Both.
Oh, all right. I would never, ever think that I had the capacity to go alone without any other boat. Now, we all know someone who does that and does it quite well. And this person, his complaint at the end was that I don't want to know the phrase, it's got lonely, but he missed the social part of having someone else
He also
on the
said,
boat.
what happened if he was in his dinghy and something happened and he couldn't get back to his boat?
Well, he's got pretty much every contingency covered for anything. And then added Starlink just now for the next trip. So that he's realized that was probably a definite need. But other than that, my comment was, we'll go with another boat. Oh no, I want somebody on the boat. Well, that's another story. So I would, like I said, I would not go alone without another boat. I mean, I have some resources, but no.
But you felt safe being on your boat alone.
Oh yeah. I always feel safe on my boat alone. Yeah.
How is it just in general, soloing an R27? I get asked that question a lot, like docking and stuff.
Well, we all know my docking abilities. Anybody can fly, but it's the landings and takeoffs. So except for the other day, I've never had a problem leaving the dock. And I'm trying to figure out what happened. And I think I've come to the conclusion that the wind was stronger than I should have gone. And I was slated to go at 10 o'clock when the wind came down, when the wind was less. And I just went, what the heck, I'm going now. And what I should have done is just backed down the waterway. Don't try to go, turn and go. Just straighten out your boat so that you're all the way down the waterway in a straight line, and then go.
And just go run the boat in reverse?
No, back it down the waterway. Get out of your slip.
To get straight and then go
Yeah,
forward.
get as straight as you can as soon as you can, and then your bow's in the wind.
Yeah,
My problem was I was broadside to the wind, and I wasn't thinking fast enough to just put it in reverse, back up until your whole boat is in a straight line, and then I could have done it. And the other thing is obviously coming over to the new slip is, starboard high facing south for 2 reasons. One, I want to be coming into the wind, and I want the boat in a slip where the bow is in the wind. And at Cap Sandy, it's from the south, and it gets pretty stiff winds. So I would have preferred starboard to slide into the starboard, hockey stop into, that. So that, obviously my learning curve is probably not the greatest for docking, as you noticed in Alaska.
We have so much fun docking.
Yeah.
So every time we go to a marina, right, we get the slip assignments wherever we're going to go. And I'd always look at them. I know she prefers, bow in, starboard tie. So I would always take the harder of the two slips to get in. Right?
Oh, you had me.
Because I got Lizine on the boat, right, to
Yeah.
help. But some other things that Janet always does is she's got, the one line that's right up here outside the helm window. She runs that line down the side of the boat on the starboard side. So when all she's got to do is get the boat to the dock, and then turn the motor off, run out the door, and right as she's stepping off the boat, she's got two lines in her hand.
The second line is because it's cleated right by the door.
Right.
This one I don't use.
Right.
That's for if I have help.
Okay.
The only thing I use the bow line for, and it's all set up ready to go, as our 6 fenders, 3 on each side. But that one is set up, if there's somebody on the dock to help me, they're focused to grab that.
Right.
And that's fine. But then for me, I have the line right at the cleat that's right by the door. And then the other one is, and they're all laid out ready to grab. And the other one is the stern line. And it's all unwound and ready to grab.
Now when she steps off the boat,
Yeah.
she's got 2 dock lines in her hands to hold the boat in and get it tied up.
All you need is one. Ask John. All you need is one. Is this one tightly pulled on a cleat and the boat's not going anywhere. And then I did just recently, and I haven't used it yet, get one of those loops. I have a loop now. So I haven't used it yet, but
Some of those places that we had.
you can lasso a
Yeah.
cleat. I've done that before, and I've done that at home. My home slip, there's a cleat there on the other side of the dock that I lots of line and lasso it and pull it, and that would be that midline there, and
there's
tie it tight, and then the boat's not moving.
There's a few places like Shearwater had just a 2x4, 4x4 that you wrapped your
Oh, yeah.
lines tied
yeah.
around. I hate those kind of dockings.
You mean the bull rail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah. Well, the other
I like cleats.
one that didn't have any cleats or bull rail was the Petersburg. They had metal. I had a metal dock.
Oh yeah.
Grate. It was a grate. And this little metal.
Prince Rupert.
Oh, Prince Rupert.
That was Prince Rupert,
Prince
yeah.
Rupert.
But the nice
yeah.
thing about them is they did everything for you. You just had to
Right.
bring it in, and they're
Right. I couldn't get off the boat after they tied it, though.
oh
Yeah. Petroleum Yacht Club, they send help down.
Yeah.
You don't go in there without them having help on the dock for
Right.
you.
Right.
It's I don't want to say it's a treacherous marina, but
a lot of current.
But there's a lot of current that
Yeah.
runs through there.
Yeah.
And Kevin, who's our master there, he's fantastic. I mean, I overheard him talking to the guys that work for him, saying, if the boaters come in and damage the boat, they're not going to come back. That's why.
Oh.
That's why he wants to give princess service to everybody
yeah.
coming in.
He was teaching his new kids that he had for the summer.
They're
businesses.
regimented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're highly regimented. Yeah. But solo, no problems. The only problems would be self-made. Any troubles I get into are self-made.
Yeah, we'd have some fun. Like Huna was a good one. Janet's coming in, right? And there's current that runs through Huna, and when you say stop the boat, that means translation. Stop the boat means put it in reverse because there's no brakes.
Not
If
just
you,
neutral.
If you put it in neutral,
Then reverse.
we just wave as you go on by, and that's what happened in Huna.
Gotta slow the momentum
Like,
down.
hi,
before you
Janet,
put
as
it
you
in.
pass right by the slip,
Well, that also was because you had to start turning like super early. It looked like you were going to go on another slip.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it would have brought you right in because the current was moving so fast. You just had
Yeah, if you're coming in and you're not too far gone to realize, okay, which way is the wind blowing? Put it in neutral and let go, and which way is the current going? And then have that work for you instead of against you. And I haven't quite made that leap yet to have it work for me.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to hit the boat that you're coming in beside if everything's blowing you this way. You could if you cut the corner too close, but aim for the middle of the finger, and the boat should automatically go that way with current and wind pushing you over.
Yeah.
Just don't get so close. Don't raft to the guy beside you.
Yeah, the bow thruster was interesting. I don't use my bow thruster much. That 4-blade prop that we had on,
Yeah.
it helps a lot on docking.
Right,
and so
bite.
forth.
increased bite is where I'm focused.
Yeah.
Get a
so I
better
could swing
bite.
the back end whichever way I needed to,
Yeah.
and wherever the back end goes, the bow will go the opposite, so you can kind of use that to your advantage. But
So your 5-blade is on now. So driving my 4-blade, was it obviously deficient? Oh,
now the 4 and the 5 blades bite enough and
Yeah.
reverse stuff. I couldn't tell the difference between the two, and the 3 blade
Yeah,
struggles.
the difference is in the fuel.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I'd be curious about that.
but I remember
How you doing fuel? Making that trip again.
But Ketchikan on our southern trip, we pulled in the Thomas Basin, and they put us in opposite docks, so it was kind of a long walk. I mean, as the crow flies, I could have chucked a pebble over where she was going to be.
Oh,
But I had
yeah.
to walk all the way down around. So I'm just lackadaisy walking. It wasn't all that bad a condition. At least it didn't look that way. You know, and I get probably about 3/4 of the way there, and that's all I hear is, and I'm like, bow thruster, cry for help, cry for help.
Then it was running.
I'm jetting down the docks to help her come in. But thanks for coming down, Janet, for this.
I guess we could say, is there anything else that Janet wanted to say? Because we put.
Well, I think I've done it.
Okay.
You'll pick it out of there somewhere.
So cool. So if you've not had a chance to look at any of our other Southeast Alaska videos, we put together a playlist on YouTube that actually contains all of them in the order that we did the trip. So go ahead and click right here, and check it out. And again, thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed watching this video, click the screen to watch another.